Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Reviewing Comics with me, your host, Alexander Turbin. Today's going to be a little different because this is an extra special episode this week, not one of my Monday and Thursday usual fares. But this is a special episode because a month or so ago, Kurt Bruegel sent me his comics, Turbo Pit Fighter, which I went over a little while ago, and this is a fantastic little book. And they have a web series on YouTube and stuff, kind of showing their process and how they go about making the comic, and that's really kind of their whole angle as to how to make the comic and stuff like that. You can watch that, and I'll have a link to their YouTube channel in the description. But he also sent me a copy of Crom, which is his graphic novel slash anthology slash dictionary slash encyclopedia slash I don't know of Crom the Barbarian. But before we get into that, I'd like to quickly show you some of my own stuff. It's random access. You can check these out at patreon.com/Alex Turbin, or you can go to my website, alexanderturbin.com, and you can just check all these out, these random accesses. I'm up to issue 24, and you can also just message me at alexturbin04401 at yahoo.com or alexturbin04401 at Instagram. So let's get back to Kurt Bruegel and Crom. So this is a labor of love, and like I said, he sent this to me. He was trying to sell 100 copies within a certain time period, and without doing Kickstarter, which I think he got to like 80 or so copies. But hopefully this isn't too late and you can get more copies, because this is really a fantastic book. It's broken into 3 different sections. The beginning section is Young Crom, which is where Kurt has made his own stories of Crom, and he's illustrated and written, and it's broken down into like 4 or 5 different little kind of storylines that I'll be going through in-depthly, because that's really kind of what I've gone through. And then the next part of the book is The Adventures of Crom, which is reprinting the original Gardner Fox and Gardner Fox and John Guinta. It reprints all of their work on Crom, and I guess it doesn't look like that many pages, so it must have only gone a few months if it was like a 20-page comic book back in the 40s and 50s. So this predates Conan in comic book form, but it doesn't predate Robert E. Howard's pulp books, which are kind of the originator of sword and sorcery. And so you have Crom the Barbarian, which is kind of a ripoff of Conan, which I don't know if they actually directly say that, but I mean, it very much is. Or any kind of barbarian. So it's not so much ripping off a character. It's just inserting your own character into a genre, into a new and fledgling genre. So, and then the last section, or actually the third section, is a bunch of stories, or what is it? The Crown and the Warlock of Shandar, which is a Gardner A. Fox story with illustrations by Kurt Bruegel, and that just kind of goes through the history of Crom and how he goes from being a young barbarian to being an older barbarian, I guess. So it's just kind of a history, and it's a story about Crom. And then the final section is illustrations and stuff from other artists depicting Crom, and just showing the different techniques and stories and stuff that Crom could have done and possibly will do in the future, because I know that Kurt has an anthology of Crom in the works, and here's Ken Landgraf, who did the cover. They did several different covers. I'm not saying several, a few different covers. So there's alternate covers for the book, and one is Kurt Landgraf. I also am in a Crom anthology produced by Jamie Barrows, and I'll put the link into. He's actually going to be or has been interviewed by the Turbo Pit Fighter guys on the Crom anthology that he put out that I'm part of, and hopefully when I get a copy of that, I'll be able to go through that and kind of show everybody's artwork and stuff. So the main thing that I want to go through is the Kurt's original creations and art for Crom the Barbarian, which is young Crom, youthful Crom, as he says. So it's kind of like a young Conan stories. So as I said, Kurt is the inker for Turbo Pit Fighter, which is he's fantastic at, and he's probably one of the best inkers I've ever seen, to be completely honest. He's got such great shading and depth, and he adds so much to the pencils and that Jake Jacobs does. He does the penciling, and Kurt does the inking, and it's really a really labor intensive thing that they're doing. They do like one page a week or something like that, or every 2 weeks or something like that. But it really shows. It's beautiful artwork, and he is a fantastic inker. He does these little noodly lines when it's appropriate. He does these the lighter lines when it's appropriate. That's probably one of the biggest things that intrigues me about his inking style, is that he really his depth, his perspective of depth, using different techniques and different instruments is really fantastic. And I kind of really wish that I was as good inker as he is. But everybody's got their strengths and their weaknesses, I guess. But he's also a great illustrator on his own and great penciler. And his inks kind of, I'm not going to say they overshadow his pencils, because you got to start with the pencils before you get into the inks, obviously. And the inks just enhance everything that's already there. So if he had poorly drawn pencils, then his inks, no matter how good they wouldn't cover up bad pencils. But he's not. He's fantastic. He's got really his light sources are one of the great things that I love about his inking and his penciling and his storytelling in general. He's got such a dark undertones when it matters, and such a light overtones when it doesn't matter. Actually, when it still matters in a different way. But like he has great shadow castings and shading and all of that, which is really fantastic. When you first look at the book, you're kind of the overall pencils are like you've got faces and characters that aren't really completely in detail. Like a lot of you can't see their eyes and stuff. But that it's part of the allure to the book. And it's not because he can't do it, because he obviously can, because he does details in the faces and in the bodies and stuff. So it's an artistic choice, which I think is really fantastic, because there's no actual dialogue in these stories. There's like 4 different stories of youthful Crom, and there's no real dialogue. It's all just being told in prose, which is really fantastic. It's almost like you're reading a pulp book with illustrations, or you're reading an old scroll about the adventures of Crom. Look at some of the detail work and the lighting in all of these things. I don't really know what he uses for inking. I'm sure that I'm going to watch more of his videos, obviously, because they do their Turbo Pit Fighter thing every week. Plus, he also has videos every once in a while of him inking and stuff like that. So I really need to sit down and watch some of his videos and pay attention to his both his technique and his materials that he uses. But he's got such great figures. They're so dynamic, and they're so they tell a story in the figures and in the way they move, and there's so much motion on the page that it's really fantastic. You can see a lot of Frank Frazetta inspirations, obviously. I mean, I think anybody that's into sword and sorcery, their main guy is probably Frank Frazetta, and with good reason, because he's probably the grandfather of artistic sword sorcery, I would say. But like it's so descriptive. Like the narrative art is a lot different when you're using captions and you're using dialogue and stuff like that than if it's just being told through a narrative state. And even though, like, you would think that if it's not using dialogue and word balloons and stuff like that, the characters interacting would be a little stale. But that is not the that's not what happens at all. There's no staleness to this. It's all great action and great emotion and a great storytelling, because the illustrations go exactly with the prose. And I mean, you can really tell what's going on, and you never have to backtrack and say what's going on, who's this, where's this, what's happening. You never have to do that. It's just some great shadows and shading and stuff like that. So like I said, one of my favorite things of Kurt's work is he's got this fantastic line work, which, if it was just the line work, that would be, something completely different. But he's also got these fantastic figures that he creates, and he puts in with the line work. So the line work actually means a great deal. It's like everything comes together perfectly when he's done with the page and when he's done with the panel, which a lot of people, they just kind of do an illustration and they do an illustration, and they don't really have any cohesion. He's got a great amount of cohesion in all of the storylines and all of the stories. And it's almost like he draws differently for each story, which is really unique and pleasing to the eye. That's one of the great things about his stories and his writing and his drawing and stuff, is that it's really pleasing to the eye. But it's also has nuances. When you are looking at a page like this and you first look at it, you're like, oh my God, there's so many figures, there's so much action, there's so much stuff going on. But the figures are so bold and big and beautiful that you're like, oh, this is awesome, this is amazing. And then so once you dig a little bit deeper, you then look at the different aspects and the different scene transitions and the different figures and anatomy and stuff like that that's going on, that really has a fantastic place in the work that he's creating and doing. Like this is a story of a giant. So it's really, I mean, I could go on, look at this, it's almost, it reminds me of, I'm having a brain cramp. The guy that does Den. Anyway, please forgive me, my old man brain. Anyway, so he's got such great textures. He's got such great line work. It's really a pleasure to read, and I wholeheartedly recommend that you seek this out and check it out. And like I said, I'll leave in the description where to find it, and hopefully there's still copies left that you can get. So yeah, here you go. Crom, the Barbarian by Gardner Fox, and revisited by Kurt Bruegel, and it's really a fantastic read, and I wholeheartedly recommend that you get it. So thanks for watching, and again, this has been a month or so that I've had this, and it's a big beefy book. So when you get it, you're getting a lot of stuff in it, and it's taken me a while to go through it. And apologies to Kurt for taking so long. I wish I had been able to get it while he was trying to do his sell 100 copies in a month's time, I believe it was. He got pretty close. So hopefully this might kickstart some more sales for him. But anyway, it's a great book, and I wholeheartedly recommend you checking it out. And if you like this kind of content, please consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell, and check out this cool Ken Landgraf cover. It's amazing. And so I will see you guys on Thursday when I come out with another review. And thanks for watching, and keep on creating.